Okay, if you've been following the AI space at all, you know the 2025 is shaping up to be a huge year. But here's the thing, we're not just talking about tiny incremental updates anymore. The entire game is being changed by one massive shift in what these models can do, and we're about to break down exactly what that is.
So what's the secret sauce? What's this one feature that's changing absolutely everything and sparking this next huge wave of intelligence? This is the key, to really understanding the difference between the AI of last year and the absolute titans we're seeing today.
All right, let's name it. This new superpower, it's the one concept you absolutely have to grasp to understand what's happening. And that concept is reasoning.
So what in the world are reasoning models? Well, think of it this way. These are AIs that can actually think before they speak. They create this little internal monologue, a sort of chain of thought, before spitting out an answer. So instead of just guessing the next word, they actually pause, they analyze, and they work through the logic of a problem. And that leads to way more accurate results, especially on tricky stuff.
And look, this isn't just some minor tweak or a cool little feature. As you can see from the data here from artificial analysis, this whole thinking before speaking thing, it's become the central engine driving the biggest jumps in AI smarts we've ever seen. It's a totally fundamental shift in how these things work.
Okay, to really get a feel for what this means in practice, let's try a little brain teaser. This is a tricky spin on the famous Monty Hall problem. So imagine you pick door number 1, but the host doesn't open another door. They just turn to you and say, hey, do you want to switch to door number 2 instead? Is it actually better for you to switch?
Wow. The difference here is just night and day, isn't it? On the left, a regular, non-reasoning model just jumps the gun. It sees doors and switching and assumes it's the classic Monty Hall problem, so it gives the wrong advice. But the reasoning model on the right, it pauses, it stops, it thinks, and it catches the key detail. The host never opened another door, so it correctly figures out, hey, there's actually no advantage to switching here. That is reasoning in action.
But, all this deep thinking, it doesn't come for free. On average, these reasoning models are using up to 10 times more computational power, more tokens to figure out the answer. It's a great illustration that thinking actually takes a lot of digital horsepower.
Okay, so we get it. Reasoning is the new superpower. So who are the superheroes? Let's meet the new titans of AI, who are really defining what's possible in 2025.
All right, first up, we've got a couple of the biggest names in the game. From OpenAI, there's the one everyone's waiting for, GPT-5. And from Anthropic, we have their latest and greatest, Claude 4. Both of these are right at the bleeding edge of this reasoning revolution.
And completing our trifecta, we have Google's Gemini 2.0. And this model, as we'll see, is really pushing the envelope in some pretty mind-blowing ways, especially when we talk about scale. So these three, GPT-5, Claude 4, and Gemini 2.0, they are the frontier. This is the top of the mountain right now. But, and this is a big but, they are not created equal. Each one has its own unique personality and strengths.
So how do they actually stack up? Let's get into it. Let's put them head to head and look at the specs to see what really makes them different.
Okay, just looking at the raw specs here tells a really interesting story. GPT-5 and Claude 4, they both have enormous context windows. You can think of that as their short-term memory. But then you look at Gemini 2.0, and wow, that 2 million token window is just in another universe. We're talking about it being able to read and remember entire libraries of information in one go. So let's talk GPT-5. What's its signature move? Really, it's the powerful, do-it-all generalist. It's fantastic at that deep, multi-step reasoning we talked about, and it just gives you this incredibly solid, balanced performance across almost any task you can throw at it.
Now, Claude 4 carves out a different niche. Think of it as the careful, methodical specialist. It's really well known for being safe and aligned, and it absolutely shines in structured tasks, like building complex coding agents. This makes it a huge favorite in big companies and for projects that need to be reliable for a long, long time. And that brings us to Gemini 2.0, the undisputed king of scale. With that insane context window and its native ability to understand not just text, but images, audio, and video all at once, it's your go-to model when you're dealing with just massive amounts of mixed media data.
Okay, I know that was a lot of tech speak. So what does it all mean for you? How do you actually pick which of these champions to use for your work?
Let's break it down really simply. If you've got a super complex problem that needs creative, flexible thinking, you're probably going to reach for GPT-5.
If you're building something very structured, maybe a big coding project for your company that needs to be reliable, Claude 4 is your horse in this race. But if your task is all about sifting through a mountain of information, especially if it includes video or audio files, then Gemini 2.0 is, without a doubt, the tool for the job.
But here's the thing. This comparison we just did, it's really just a snapshot in time. To get the full picture, we have to zoom out, because this is an incredibly fast-moving race, and it is far from over.
Just take a look at this intelligence index from artificial analysis. Right now, yeah, OpenAI is holding a very slim lead at the top, but look how close Google is nipping at their heels. The competition right at the cutting edge has never, ever been this tight.
And this next chart, showing intelligence over time, really paints the picture. This isn't some gentle slope upwards. It's a series of massive, almost vertical leaps. You can see OpenAI's historic lead there in black, but look at all the others. Google, Anthropic, they're constantly closing the distance, sometimes even grabbing the top spot for a moment. This whole race just accelerating like crazy.
And why is it accelerating so fast? Because the release cycles is just bonkers. The top labs are now pushing out new, more powerful models every 3 months. That means the leaderboard we're looking at right now could be completely obsolete in a few weeks. The goalposts are constantly moving.
And that really brings us to the final big question. We've seen how these reasoning models are a quantum leap in AI smarts. We've seen how the race to build them is getting faster and more intense every single day. So, as these things get smarter and smarter, are we actually ready for the answers they're going to start giving us?